6 stories from the last 4 days that prove the UFC is cracking at every seam, and Dana White is at the center of all of them.
How many fucking times I gotta say this?
A fighter told the world he's broke after winning a fight. Jon Jones revealed a $15 million offer on Twitter. Max Holloway challenged Conor McGregor at any weight, and Joe Rogan called a main card fight crazy bad and blamed the promotion's own matchmaking.
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently.
Let's get into it. Saturday night, the O2 Arena, 13 fights. And the most talked about moment came from a guy nobody expected. First, the main event. Movsar Evloev, 19-0, versus Lerone Murphy, 17-0-1. 2 unbeaten featherweights, title shot on the line. Murphy was sharp early, countering Evloev cleanly over the first 2 rounds. Evloev adjusted in the third, started mixing in takedowns. Then round 4, a second accidental groin kick, and referee Mark Goddard deducted a point. Evloev responded with urgency in the 5th. Multiple takedowns, ground control, steady damage. Murphy scrambled, threw up submissions, fired back on the feet. When the scorecards came in, 48-46, 48-46, 47-47. One judge scored it a draw. Evloev wins by majority decision, moves to 20-0. Aljamain Sterling immediately went to X. Point deduction and he still won? How does Movsar win with a point deduction in that main event? Make it make sense. That fight was a draw at best. Respect to all the circumstances, but there's no way he should have won that. Insane. Dana White didn't see the controversy. At the post-fight press conference, he was asked if Evloev gets the next title shot. Possibly, yeah. I'm not even thinking about that. The fight just ended. But yeah, obviously, he's in a great position. Now, the co-main. Michael Page versus Sam Patterson. 39 combined significant strikes in 15 minutes. The crowd booed. Rogan, watching on his Fight Companion podcast, tore into it.
Bro,
Yeah.
this might be the least action of any fight ever, next to Derek Lewis and Francis Ngannou. Props to Patterson, because this is the first dude that Venom Page has fought that doesn't look like he doesn't belong in there.
It's interesting that they didn't think of this when they booked this fight. They didn't think, these guys are training partners, this might be a stinker? This might be the least action of any fight ever, next to Derek Lewis and Francis Ngannou. This is crazy bad. That's a crazy bad fight. Dana White at the post-fight presser, I didn't think it was a great fight either. It was a bad fight. He won, so we'll see what's next. Last week, Rogan called Power Slap insulting. This week, he's comparing a main card UFC fight to the worst bout in the promotion's history. And Dana is agreeing with him. That's how bad it was. But none of that hit as hard as what happened when Danny Silva grabbed the microphone. Danny Silva opened the main card against Curtis Campbell, an 8-0 British prospect making his UFC debut off Dana White's Contender series. Campbell was the hometown favorite. Silva knocked him out 31 seconds into round 2. And then, standing in the Octagon after a career-best win, he said this.
When do you want to get back in here?
Whenever, Dana, I'm broke right now. I just need some money to maintain some camps. It'll be nice if I could get a performance bonus. I could be here in July, I'm ready.
A man who just knocked out a rising prospect in front of thousands of people in London, and his first thought was that he can't afford to keep doing this. The UFC raised bonuses to $100,000 starting in January. They added $25,000 bonuses for any finish that doesn't win a main award. Those are real improvements. But a fighter like Danny Silva, unranked, fighting on a fight night card overseas, is still grinding at the bottom. That image lands differently when you remember the UFC just signed a $7.7 billion deal with Paramount, and the White House card has an estimated production cost of $60 million. Fighter pay isn't abstract anymore. This week it has a face. Same card, prelims, Mason Jones versus Axel Sola. And this was the fight of the year so far. 175 combined significant strikes in 15 minutes. Jones landed 110, 76 to the head. A knee from Jones opened a cut below Sola's right eye that was genuinely hard to look at. Jones won by unanimous decision. Both men earned fight of the night, $100,000 each. Then Sola was transported to the hospital for precautionary CT scans. 2 quick hits before we move on. Luana Carolina missed weight by 8 pounds, weighed in at 144 for a 136-pound fight. Her opponent Melissa Mullins made weight and broke down in tears when the fight was canceled. Third weight miss of Carolina's UFC career. And Iwo Baraniewski knocked out Austin Lane in 28 seconds. Just walked in and ended it. If you watched last week's video, you know the Jones versus Dana saga was already at a boiling point. Jones had demanded his release on March 9th after being left off the White House card. Dana had publicly called him retired. What happened this past week took it somewhere else entirely. Thursday, Jones tweeted this: "Random thought. Arthritis hurts. It doesn't make you cripple. I'm still smashing 99.47% of you out there." Bo Nickal saw that and immediately responded, "Me versus you." But the real bomb was Saturday, same day as UFC London. Jones revealed the actual numbers from his White House negotiations. Was ready, willing, and physically able to step in. "I was willing to take substantially less than the Aspinall ask, but they wouldn't budge $1 over $15 million. I felt like our fight was worth more." $15 million for a Jones versus Pereira super fight at the White House, and he turned it down. Dana was asked about it hours later at the UFC London post-fight press conference.
Jon Jones was never fighting on the White House card. How many fucking times I gotta say this? He was never fighting on the White House card. I literally have done two press conferences talking about this. These guys went out, found everything that they thought was available and possible, and then I picked the fights. There's no way in hell I was putting him on the card, no matter what the money was. Jon Jones was never gonna fight on the White House card.
Jones last fought at UFC 309 in November 2024. TKO'd Stipe Miocic in the third round, retired in summer 2025, came out of retirement specifically for the White House, and now he's sitting at home while Pereira fights Gane for an interim belt. With Rogan reportedly pushing back behind the scenes on Jones's behalf, the UFC's greatest fighter and its most powerful voice are aligned against the boss at the same time. Conor McGregor's 18-month anti-doping suspension ended March 20th. He has not fought since July 2021, nearly 5 years. We covered the backstory last week, the meeting with UFC officials, the International Fight Week rumor from Ariel Helwani, the push for the BMF belt. What's new is who came calling. Max Holloway, on his YouTube channel after UFC London. "Conor got one over me. He's talking about coming back. I'm coming off a loss. I know a lot of people worry about the weight. If he doesn't want to cut weight, then I don't want to cut weight. We can do it at any weight, it's just about getting it back." These two fought in August 2013, nearly 13 years ago. McGregor won by unanimous decision but tore his ACL during the fight. Neither man was in his prime. The rematch has always made sense, and with both at a crossroads, the timing is right. Kamaru Usman also threw his name in on March 13th, posting on X, "Usman x McGregor 2026. McGregor has options. The question is whether he and Dana can agree on money. And based on everything happening around them, that conversation has never been harder. The Rousey versus Carano card on May 16th keeps adding firepower. We covered the main fights last week. Here's what's new. Jake Paul on Saturday. Tuesday, I'm going to announce the rest of the MVP MMA card for May 16th on Netflix, finalizing a couple of more fights and will be set. One day later, Muhammad Mokaev, undefeated flyweight, arguably the biggest name the UFC let go in recent years, teased his addition. If Mokaev is added, this card goes from a nostalgia event to a legitimate threat. Rousey Carano for the mainstream, Ngannou for heavyweights, Diaz Perry for the violence fans, Jackson Larkin for the hardcores, Mokaev for the purists. Every one of those fighters left the UFC or was let go. Donna was asked about Nate Diaz signing with MVP at the London presser. "Yeah, he came in and met with me a couple of weeks ago. We had a good time. I think Nate just got an offer he couldn't refuse. I'm happy for him." Meanwhile, Rousey used her March 10th press conference to frame this as something bigger than a fight. "This is the biggest fight in MMA right now. There are no two people in this sport with more international name recognition than me and Gina, except Conor, but no one is going to sanction that." Now it's become about changing the entire landscape of the sport and challenging the monolith that the UFC has become. May 16th, Netflix. If that card delivers, it changes what's possible outside the UFC. This Saturday, March 28th, Adesanya versus Pyfer headlines UFC Seattle. April 11th, Prochazka versus Ulberg for the vacant light heavyweight belt at UFC 327 in Miami. May 16th, Rousey Carano on Netflix. June 14th, Topuria, Gaethje, and Pereira at the White House. And somewhere in the middle, McGregor's name keeps circling International Fight Week on July 11th.
There's so much happening in the fight world. Like, it's actually incredible what's going on in the fight world. It's a great time to be a fight fan.
Danny Silva is broke after winning a fight in London. Jon Jones is arguing over $15 million on Twitter. Rousey is building a rival promotion on the biggest streaming platform in the world. And Dana White is in the middle of all of it, insisting everything is fine while his commentator, his heavyweight champion, and his greatest fighter all push back at the same time. The UFC isn't struggling. The money has never been bigger, but control and revenue are two different things, and the control is slipping. See you in the next one.